All right, today we're diving into a really big idea. It's a framework that suggests we can actually engineer global stability. We're not talking about traditional diplomacy here. We're talking about building a brand new operating system for civilization itself. So how on earth would that even work? Well, let's get into it.
The whole thing really starts with this one, simple, but incredibly powerful question. For pretty much all of human history, conflict has been about grabbing resources, power, or profit. But what if we could completely flip that script? What if stability and cooperation offered a return on investment so massive that it made war look like a terrible business decision? And this is the core philosophy right here. The goal is to get past these fragile political deals that can fall apart at any moment. Instead, the idea is to build a system where peace is just the default setting. You know, an engineered certainty, not a negotiated maybe.
Okay, so let's take a look at what this new operating system is all about. It's called the Peace for Profit Framework, or PFP for short. And its goal is, well, it's incredibly ambitious, to make conflict so ridiculously expensive, so counterproductive, that it becomes totally irrational from an economic standpoint.
Now, the really fascinating part here is the how. The PFP framework isn't trying to convince people to be good. It's based on something much more powerful: cold, hard economic gravity. By weaving the economies and, critically, the survival infrastructure of neighboring countries together, any act of aggression automatically and instantly hurts the attacker. It's basically designing a system where attacking your neighbor is like punching yourself in the face.
So, a system this massive needs a ton of funding, right? So where does the money come from? Well, the first step is to do something pretty radical. Turn peace from this abstract idea into something you can actually invest in, to make it a whole new asset class.
And the financial engine for this whole thing is a special kind of real estate investment trust, a REIT. Now what this does is it bundles up all the physical infrastructure, we're talking power grids, data centers, water plants, and turns it into a product. This allows those huge long-term investors, like pension funds, to invest directly in regional stability and actually profit from it.
And the scale we're talking about is, well, it's just staggering. The framework is designed to have an expansion layer of $30 trillion. This isn't some small pilot program. It's designed to make the financial cost of rocking the boat so astronomically high that nobody in their right mind would even think about it. At the end of the day, money becomes the ultimate peacekeeper. Okay, so if that's the financial skeleton, now we need the brains of the operation. This is the tech core that creates that inescapable interdependence, and they're called Stargate campuses.
So a Stargate campus is this massive industrial hub that does a bunch of things at once. Yeah, it's got an AI brain for running everything, but it's also physically producing power, desalinating water, and accelerating food production. And it's all integrated. For example, the waste heat from the giant AI data centers, it gets recycled to power the desalination plants. Nothing is wasted.
And this is where the magic really happens. These absolutely essential resources, power, water, food, data, they're all shared across borders. So, if one country tries to disrupt the system to hurt its neighbor, it is simultaneously shutting off its own water supply or its own power grid. Suddenly, cooperation isn't just a nice idea, it becomes the only mathematically sound path to survival.
But, okay, what if someone just acts irrationally anyway? The system needs a nervous system, something that can respond instantly. And that's where the PCRMI platform comes in. It enforces stability, but not with armies. It does it with automatic economic consequences. Just look at how this works. The system basically uses AI and blockchain to put a real-time price tag on a country's behavior. If a government starts making trouble, capital automatically pulls out, insurance costs go through the roof, and investment just freezes. But if they do things that promote stability, capital floods in, it doesn't tell anyone what to do, it just makes recklessness incredibly, punishingly expensive.
Now I know what you might be thinking. A system this big, it can feel really abstract, right? All this talk of trillions of dollars and AI platforms. To make it real for people on the ground, it needs a human element. Something you can actually hold and see. Something tangible. And this is the humanitarian heart of the whole system.
So, meet the miracle bar. It's the smallest, most basic unit of this entire system. And the formula is beautifully simple. 1 bar equals 1 meal. And that 1 meal, once it's verified as delivered, equals 1 digital token. So it's not just food, it's a unit of trust. It literally turns the act of survival into measurable economic value. And that little miracle bar, it's not just a meal, it's the spark plug. It's the ignition for what the framework calls the peace flywheel, a self-reinforcing loop that powers the entire system right from the ground up. So you see how it works? It starts with something incredibly basic, making and distributing food. That builds real, tangible trust, food-backed trust. That trust then gets tokenized, which creates actual economic value. That value attracts capital, which is then used to build more of that Stargate infrastructure. And that new infrastructure makes everyone even more interdependent and stable, which makes conflict even less profitable, and the whole cycle just keeps repeating and growing stronger.
So to put this all into perspective, you can really think of this as the next logical step in how we approach peace. You had the Abraham Accords, which proved that former enemies could find peace if it was profitable. You have the idea of the Cyrus Accords, which imagines peace based on deep reconciliation. PFP takes these ideas and basically industrializes them to make peace an engineered and ultimately an inevitable economic outcome.
And that leaves us with this final, really powerful idea. The goal here isn't to sign another piece of paper that could be torn up tomorrow. It's to install a permanent economic operating system. A system where the math has been fundamentally changed and where peace, quite simply, pays more. So the real question isn't whether we can all agree on peace, it's whether we can actually build